Hey, welcome again to this podcast, Stress and Purpose in Life. This podcast is here for you listeners who are seeking inspiration on your journey to transformation and also to create a life less of stress and more of purpose. Today's episode is incredibly powerful and deeply important for everybody to listen to. It has to do with fighting for one's loved one and also to diving into the story of survival of a mother's relentless determination to protect her child from abuse. So joining me today is our special guest, Michelle Eldin. I hope I pronounce it correctly.
You have. Thank you, Stina.
And you have faced the harrowing reality of domestic abuse and fought for your safety, your child, right?
Yes, literally just that. Absolutely.
So yeah, so we will explore your journey now and also the obstacles that you face and also the strength that you have to, despite all these challenges that you face throughout the process that you're going to talk about. And so most important also for people that are listening that are in a similar situation, if you're the mother of a child or if yourself in an abusive relationship, this episode is for you to listen to because it gives you a sense of hope, I hope. So get ready and a warm welcome to you, Michelle. Thanks for being here on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So let's just start off by if you can share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and also about your journey that you have gone through.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you, Stina. So as Stina kindly introduced me as Michelle Eldin. So my business background is actually running a recruitment agency, but I've sort of recently, and I say recently, about 5 years ago, came out of an abusive marriage. It was very emotionally abusive, and in that marriage, we have a child together. So my passion really now is for empowering women to overcome domestic abuse. So really regaining their identity, their confidence, their sense of purpose. And in 2021, I co-authored a book with, I think it was about 13 other authors at the time, called Hear Her Roar. And I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to co-author another book this year, which I know your lovely self as well, Stina, is involved in, called Start Over with Sir Marco Robinson. And again, within that, I'll be telling my story of sort of domestic abuse, but also involving the legal system. And again, it's just something that I'm so passionate about, supporting other women and children as well, just through that journey and through that healing process.
Hmm. So yeah, thank you. Can you explain more about this journey? If we talk about what led to the moment when you realized that you were in an abusive relationship, but also that your child was being affected by her father's abuse.
Yeah, of course. I think for me, it's one of those light bulb moments, and I know maybe a lot of people who sadly been in abusive relationships themselves may resonate. It can go on sadly for years without kind of you not necessarily realizing, but before you actually do something about it, i.e. try and sort of get out of that relationship. So for me, because we shared a child together, I was almost watching my child suffer, struggle. So she wasn't barely sleeping. She was obviously very anxious all the time. She would be hitting her father, kicking her father, crying if he ever tried to go near her, which as a mum is heartbreaking because you want your child to have that close bond with both parents. And for me, I could just see her suffering, struggling, and someone whose parents have been married for I think 44 years now, that's the marriage I wanted. I'm not going to lie, I wanted that, what we call a happy family, kind of solid family unit. But on it was my daughter's birthday, actually, I had a light bulb moment. I found out, unfortunately, that my ex-partner had been unfaithful again, and that was almost like my enough's enough moment now. And for my child at the time, sadly it wasn't for me because I was still stuck in that low self-esteem, didn't feel I was worthy. But for our child, I was like, no, she deserves better than this. She deserves a peaceful, happy home environment, without her feeling anxious or worried or scared. So I guess for me, I just had that light bulb moment, which I know, a lot of us do in whatever form that takes. And for me, it was just another disrespectful behaviour, I guess, that almost showed me, no, enough's enough now. Things aren't going to change. and this is probably about 5 years down the road, actually, from actually entering that relationship. So it took quite a long time to get to that point. But for me, I had to do it for our child at that time, and hence I did.
And many people take that time also with years to the time just goes, and then you're just accepting, and then at some point it's say no more. But it can take a long time. I think many people experience that as well. Must have been really heartbreaking to see your child going through this and not having the control over the situation and that situation that you were in.
Yeah.
Was there any doubt in yourself in different moments that perhaps you were wrong, or did you like instinctively know that you had to take an action, or what was that point that really made the difference?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Stina. I think, to be honest, there's always that, you know, as I said, because my family, i.e. my parents, been together for 44 years, you know, we all want that fairy tale marriage and fairy tale ending, don't we? And there was always that guilt almost that I couldn't provide our daughter with that. But at the same time, and again, you know, having been out of that marriage for years now, I'm glad I didn't hang around, because if I had, sadly, nothing would have changed, and it would be myself and our daughter that would suffer. So I think initially I did have that, like, the doubt and the guilt, am I doing the right thing? But again, looking back on that situation and how far we've come now, it's all been positive. You know, there's no guilt from my perspective now, because, you know, in my care, our daughter's happy, she's thriving. You know, she's a very different girl than what she was when we were actually still together. It's just, I think, because society is so much, you know, you have to have the two children, the married parents, and, you know, that's kind of what we call the norm these days. Although it is not actually the norm, sadly, but that's still, I think, a bit of a stereotype that a lot of us have. That's what I wanted for our child. But I think I'd say to anyone, you know, we all have to trust our gut instinct at times, don't we? Because I think we all know deep down what's going on and that it's not right, but it's actually trusting our gut and going, I deserve better, and my children or child deserve better too, and being that role model to show them, actually, you know, we don't deserve this.
That's a good advice, and I think that gives many people strength to listen to, because you have to have that. You have to do the steps and everything. Can you go through before we can talk about your feelings and your emotions also. And then I would like to hear something about, I know you can't talk that much about the custody situation, but a little bit about that. But before we do that, can we talk about something really regarding your healing and from your traumas? I mean, how did you manage your own emotional experience during this time when you knew you were also suffering, of course? How did you manage that?
Yeah, to be honest, with difficulty. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hard journey. And I think for me, again, it's literally small steps. You know, it's not trying to think too far into the future and the kind of the what ifs and how's that going to work. It's literally thinking some days, literally thinking day by day, hour by hour within that day in terms of looking forward. So I think for me, I've always been very into my self-development and learning anyway. But for me, I almost, because I'd literally left the marriage and I'd felt like my soul had been destroyed. I didn't feel like I feel like I'd lost my personality, my identity, my confidence, you know, my self-esteem had all gone. I was literally starting from a blank canvas, like nothing, in terms of building myself back up again. And I think, to be honest, Stina, because I was so focused on my daughter, when I empowered her, I weirdly empowered myself, but without realizing. So I was trying to keep her life as consistent and stable as possible. So we were still seeing friends, we were still seeing family, you know, going to the park and just doing what I call normal child-related things. And I think as much as the time, I'm not saying I didn't want to do it, because I did for my daughter, but it was actually hard to do it because I didn't have any energy, you know, my headspace wasn't quite right. But I think the fact that I did that helped me as well, because we both had like a routine, you know, we both sort of were still involving ourselves, shall we say, in a community, i.e. our family and friends, which sort of
not really isolated. Many people get isolated in that situation. That was really good for you to take steps out of that
Yeah, no, and I think for me that was actually quite a big thing. And again, I don't say that easily, because I know, like you said, some people are isolated, and their ex-partner can actually isolate them, so they lose friends, they sadly lose family. But all I'd say is, from my perspective, just about kind of getting outside, even if it's half an hour to, fresh air, go to the park if you've got a child, those kinds of things. And also for me, it's just reading books, again, self-development books that kind of teach you who you are again, so you're not losing your values, just so I'm regaining my values, and just remembering actually who I was before the relationship, but then building on that to become almost like a new version of me after that marriage.
Many people are. I can relate to this also. I mean, many people can, of course. When your identity is lost in the relationship because you're living the other person's abuse.
Yes.
And you adapt yourself to his or her circumstances and her bad behaviors, and then you try to adapt to that, and then you get lost in yourself, and your self-worth is like on the bottom of the floor, right? So
I was just saying, spiritualism has been quite a big thing that sort of entered my life as well. And again, it's also been empowering for my daughter in terms of, we do angel cards. We will literally pray to our spirit guides, and she's really got on board with that. She's got her own little pack of children's angel cards, which she uses. And it's always given us this sort of protection and this empowerment to know, actually, no matter how difficult life gets, we've always got people, including ourselves, but always got people, the angels, looking after us and protecting us, which again has been quite a big thing, actually.
Of course. And I agree with you with that, because people are isolating themselves in that kind of situation, but then they can anyway believe that they are not alone, that they anyway have somebody with them. And of course, people believe differently about that, but just to have that trust in that kind of, I think people get spiritual when they are in that situation, because you need to have something else to get your support from, right? And then that is a great way of perhaps getting help if you can't get it from your friends. Because the shame in this, it's a lot of people having a lot of shame in an abusive relationship, right? And then you don't talk to your nearest ones about it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
no, you're exactly right, Steve. And I think that's where, for me, the change needs to take place, i.e. the shame needs to swap sides, because why should we be ashamed? We've done nothing wrong. We're not the ones kind of disrespecting people, hurting people. So actually it should be the perpetrators of the abuse who should feel the shame, the guilt, and everything else. We should be free, in my opinion, to speak out, tell our stories, whereas at the moment, sadly, we're ashamed because a lot of people feel like, they've done wrong, or they did something they shouldn't have done. Was actually that should lie with the abuser, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah. And how would you say, what advice would you give? I mean, did you have some kind of moment where you're like, saw anyway a light in the tunnel where you were in that situation with your daughter and everything? Because you if you go through the custody process, it was a really difficult one, right? So can you tell me about that? And when did you find the light in the tunnel regarding that process?
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, as you said, I mean, for me, that whole process was hell. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. It was really, really difficult, especially when you've got a child involved that is struggling and suffering at the same time. As a loving parent, it's really, really difficult. I think for me, it always went back to, I had to be a good role model for my daughter. I strongly feel if I'd broken, she would have seen that, and she probably would have gone down that same path. Whereas I think I had to show her, yes, it's hard, and yes, it's okay to cry, and it's okay to feel our emotions, and feel angry and upset and everything else that came with that. But I think for me, as a mum, I was always of the mindset that I had to show my daughter that actually we stand strong, we've done nothing wrong, we have to be brave, we have to be resilient. And that's what I always taught her, I think, through my own behaviour, but also quite literally taught her through words, communication, that, you are strong, your voice matters, you know, we always do our best, and the truth is the truth. And we literally have these conversations and make we call affirmation boards, which is just like a little board of like literally just phrases on, like, you know, you are brave, you're the most important girl in the world. You know, and we used to make them together, like literally for me and my daughter, just to really
wonderful. That should every mother and daughter do, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a beautiful routine and daily habit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Now this board is on my sort of mirror in my room. So in the morning, we'll each pick out like a phrase then, and we say it to start the day off in like a really positive way.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I think it's almost digging deep, which again is hard, but I think the love for my child, and I know a lot of other parents will resonate, the love for your child keeps you going, literally, because you don't want to see them suffer regardless. And I think my love for my daughter kept me going, and I really believe that I had to be a good role model for her to actually show her, you know, we're not going to be broken, we're not going to kind of, you know, fall down. And yes, you know, we've both had our moments where we've both cried, we've both been upset, but actually saying to her, that's okay, you know, it's okay one day to be that way, but tomorrow's a different day, and we might have a bit more strength tomorrow to get up and keep fighting, sort of thing.
If you can let me know a little bit, and also the listeners, I mean, your child is, I mean, are you afraid of she getting to learn from her father about how a man should be? Or I mean, all the things that you're telling me now about the affirmations and the habits that you have, and all the good talking about her being her self-worth, building her self-worth and everything. But are you still afraid somewhere that she anyway should do some mistakes and learn from it that you also been through? I mean, regarding the relationship with your husband.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, yes. But I think because, you know, I've empowered her so much to know what right and wrong is, and she's got good male role models sort of through my family in her, you know, in her life, that she's seen kind of what that, you know, good, I say good man, but you know what I mean, kind of what that relationship dynamic should look like. She's seen that elsewhere to kind of know. So, you know, she's almost telling me, oh, you know, they shouldn't have said that, they shouldn't have done that, why did they lie about that? And I don't have to say anything, which, you know, I'll always sort of teach her right from wrong, but she's of the age now where she recognizes that herself. So there's always that doubt that she does learn wrong things, like from anyone in the world, to be honest. But I think, again, as a parent, it's just trying to teach right from wrong. And, you know, no one's perfect. So even me, or, you know, my little girl, we're not perfect. But just when we make mistakes, or when we say something that's perhaps rude or behave in a way we shouldn't, it's always just going, sorry, you know, actually I should have done this. And I think it comes with age, but I think because my daughter is a certain age now, she can actually recognize her own emotions, and she's able to say, well, actually that's not right, or why did that person do that? So I think he tries to manipulate her, and he tries to influence her, and he tries to tell her that mummy doesn't love her and mummy doesn't want her, whereas we have such a good bond that I feel like he can almost say anything, and we are so solid that it just can't be broken.
And that is really good that she has that trust in that situation. She has the love for you still, and to rely on. That's really lovely. I was also going to ask about before we get into the situation where we can give advice to other mothers more deeply regarding your own speciality. Can we talk a little bit more about this? I know you had difficulty I know you can't tell everything about it, but just give the viewers some insight into this process that you were through in the custody process. That was really not a really good one, right? It was really horrible episode. So you can tell me a little bit more about that specifically, what happened, and how it is today with that.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Stina. So I think I'll cut a very long story short, because it was sort of like a 2-year process. That basically I went into that process, the family court system in the UK, with believing in the truth. You know, the sort of evidence was quite clear from my perspective. You know, sadly my ex-partner was abusive. You know, I left that marriage feeling like my soul had been destroyed. Our daughter had witnessed it. You know, she was scared of him and said he was mean to mummy and me, etc., etc. So I went into the courtroom quite literally thinking, oh, okay, well, they're going to look at my evidence and everything will be fine, and they'll want to protect my daughter and give her the best life and everything else. Well, my experience was corruption, if I'm honest with you. I'm not going to beat around the bush with that. Corruption, lots of reports that didn't contain the truth. They falsified things I'd said. They falsified things my daughter had said. They'd falsified things her teacher had said. And every single professional we dealt with literally wrote what they wanted in their reports to get to a certain conclusion, which ended up in me having my daughter taken away from me. So raising her on my own for pretty much 6 years, never having a day apart. I dropped her off to school one day, said, love you, sweetheart, which is what we always did. See you later. And I didn't then see her for probably about 2 weeks.
Oh, that must be really heartbreaking. And also a shock, right?
Oh,
horrific. You didn't expect that.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. And I think for me, the process to get to that point was like a tick box exercise. And I think because I spoke out, and every time the professionals didn't do their job correctly, I always said, well, you've breached that law and you haven't done that. And I believe, rightly or wrongly, I believe I was punished for speaking out the truth, and they used our daughter to do that, which is horrific. But it's sadly, again, I work with a lot of women again after my case, and sadly it's not uncommon. Thousands of people across the world go through that same experience, have their innocent children taken away from them when they've done absolutely nothing wrong.
I can't believe the system, how that is working, right? It's really not okay. But how is it now? Is it solved now, or is it still in the process, or are you in a good state now regarding this?
Yeah, the process is finished now, Stina. So that finished, what would it be? Probably about 9 months ago now. So now we have shared care, they call it. So my daughter sees myself and her dad for the same amount of time.
Okay.
Because she never wanted to see him, obviously she's still suffering mentally and physically, because it's going against what she actually wants to do, where she's happy.
Yeah. Okay, but you are then in a really good place now, or are you still traumatized about this situation? I mean, you're still with him in some kind of relationship, right? Because you have your daughter. How are you coping with that? What is that? What do you have for coping strategies? Because people can resonate with that. People are getting divorced for many reasons and having shared custody and so. But
I think for me, again, it goes back to that belief in me, I think, because in that marriage, I literally lost that self-belief, self-confidence, whereas now I have that back again, that I'm almost like, I've almost got this like shield of like protection. So no matter what he says or does, it goes over my head, because I know, I don't mean this big-headedly, but I know I'm a nice person. I know I'm kind. I'd never hurt anyone. So as much as he tries to tell me, that I'm X, Y, and Z, I know I'm not. And as much as he tries to manipulate our daughter, I know actually she knows the truth, and you can't change the truth, can you?
No. And children are so intelligent, so that's really lucky for her, right?
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah.
And for you as well.
Yeah. So I think the advice I'd give to people in a situation like that, just to work on you, because you can't change other people, you can't change the way they behave, you can't change the environment around you, and you can't control certain things. I think the more you work on yourself to empower yourself, to get yourself stronger, more resilient, you then face those challenges when they come your way with more strength and more confidence and more positivity, rather than them keep sort of beating you down. It actually empowers you, because you're like, it becomes nothing. It just becomes sort of not normal, because it's sadly not normal and people shouldn't have to deal with it, but it becomes kind of just another thing in life that you have to deal with eventually.
But then I can think fear is a huge factor here, right? Fear. I mean, fear of the safety of yourself, right, and your children, and of the future and everything. You know, it is, the fear is really something that many people have. The fear and the shame, right? So, what if you're feeling fear for this, and fear, because this abusive relationship can be in different forms, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Many people. What would your advice be? Would it be different depending on which kind of relationship you have with your spouse, or what would you say there?
Yeah, I think again, like you rightly said, Stina, every relationship is different, isn't it? And what that sort of the history of that's been, whether it's been like physical abuse, you know, emotional abuse, financial abuse, etc. But I think for me, again, it's just trying to put everything in place to make that fear as small as possible. So, you know, talking practically, it's literally, I've got security cameras all around my house, you know, just in case, shall we say. You know, I've got certain contacts within a domestic abuse charity that I can reach out to if I'm ever concerned. And I have a really trusted network of friends and family and literally neighbours, you know, literally next door to us, who know the situation, who, if I needed to, they would be round within 2 seconds, or, you know, we could go round theirs. So I think, you know, as I said, it's very difficult because every situation is different, and some are kind of what I call low-level abuse from a distance, but some, sadly, the abuser is still very much, you know, trying to be in the environment, shall we say. But I think I truly believe it always starts with you, that empowerment, that strength within you, but also from a safety point of view, putting things and people in place so you have that, like, literally safety net around you, so you're not feeling alone, you know, you're not feeling isolated as well.
And there are many such associations and organizations that can be there for you to help you. You know, if you don't have it nearby, close by, of course. So thank you again. Is it something that you would like to share regarding your work, and also how people can reach out to you, or something else you want to add before we wrap up this amazing episode that I want to continue talking about, because it's a really important subject? But do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think just for me, Stina, again, my biggest lesson, and I have said it within our conversation, but is actually to work on you. And, you know, having a child, my priority is always, you know, my daughter, but I've never really looked into kind of, you know, that self-development piece for myself. And I think the more I've empowered myself and cared for myself, the more my little girl has seen, oh, mummy's really strong, or, you know, she calls me the strongest mummy in the world, which I know I'm not, don't get me wrong, but she believes that, and it kind of has empowered her to believe that she's the strongest girl in the world.
Then you're a great role model to her, right? You are really great role model in that situation, right? So
no, thank you. And I think that's the advice I'd give really to any parents out there, or anyone's going through an abusive situation, is firstly, take each day as it comes. So try not to think too far into the future, and look after yourself, because it's really hard in these situations to actually think that you deserve to be looked after, because you've sadly been told otherwise for probably a very long time. But actually to start rebuilding yourself piece by piece, and the more you do, the more life as a whole will start to look better, because you'll face challenges differently. You know, you'll kind of build your tribe. Like, you know, I've met your lovely self through the work I do. You build your network of people that are kind of like-minded and can help and support you. And so, yeah, and I think for my own work personally, I've got a Facebook group which is called A New You, which is just a confidential private group of ladies who've been through abuse, and I'm just trying to sort of, again, empower them, you know, help them regain their identity and their confidence. And that's also a group on Instagram as well. So yeah, that's really where my passion lies, is just really trying to support women through that healing journey.
And that is a really important job, right? So where can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you and get your support and help?
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I've got the group on Facebook, which is just literally A New You, which is a private group. So you will have to answer a few questions to kind of get into that group, but it's just a private group where I support ladies. That group is also on Instagram. Myself, i.e. Michelle Eldin. My main platform I use is LinkedIn, but again, you'll also find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'm more than happy for them to get in touch.
And I think many people will do that, because this job, you're living your experience, and your work is from your own experience, and often that's the most powerful way of giving advice, that you've gone through it yourself. So it's really inspiring. So thank you truly, Michelle, for this incredible episode with you, and your story, and your courage, and your resilience, let's say, and your love for your daughter, and your really powerful story. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
No,
and to everybody that's listening, I hope that today's episode really has given you some strength and hope and belief also, that no matter how dark the road can be, you can always find a way forward, right? To a new you, as we say. And you're not alone, you have always the power to rewrite your story and your life. So thank you. If this episode resonates with you, so please just go onto our YouTube channel or on Spotify and subscribe to our episodes, because we are here for you listeners, and we would like to give you support and empower you as much as we can do. So please subscribe, and until next time, so take care of yourself, and trust your inner strength, right, and your situation. And remember, the choice of today is that you have the power for choosing your tomorrow, no matter where you are. So good luck and have a great day. And until next time, thank you.